Welcome to our channel where we chat about all things ADHD-informed coaching. Hi, so we've got Shell with us today, who has recently graduated the ADHD-Informed Coaching Course, part of Cohort 1, and she's here to tell us a little bit about her journey on the course. So, hello, Shell, how are you doing?
Hi, Sally. Good today, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good, and I'm really grateful that you're going to come and talk to people about this, because it's all very well me saying that it's a brilliant course and you're going to learn loads, it's going to be amazing, but it's not quite the same as hearing it from somebody who's actually done it, and you may say something different to that. So I suppose let's go back a bit. When you were thinking about doing a course, like, how did you come to us and what made you sort of choose to do it with us?
So I was looking at a coaching course for neurodivergent informed or ADHD coaching because I wanted coaching myself. I work in the NHS and couldn't find any coaches who were neuroinformed who were available to me. So that then led me down the rabbit warren of what can we do to sort of change that. And I started having a look at coaching. And then I think it was on Instagram where one of Alex's posts came up saying he was doing a new coaching course for you. And so, well, that's perfect timing. Let's have a look. And that was where I reached out to yourself and had a chat and felt it was the right course. It felt it was the right one. I looked at a few others, which were a lot more expensive, shorter, and didn't really feel like they were for me. I wanted to feel like I was learning rather than just reading things from a screen.
Yeah, and how have you found that? It's always interesting to know how people come, because you don't really know. And we know that um, people have come through knowing Alex or following him from all his work with the ADHD Adults podcast and the book. But so when you sort of came into it, how did you find that sort of journey of coming in? And did it meet your expectations? What were you thinking? Like that sort of stuff.
It was really welcoming. So I had the emails from yourself and Alex, and then I had the sort of chat over Zoom with you, and that felt really positive. Having that face to face conversation. And so other trainings courses that I had a look at, there was no contact. It was either pay us a load of money now online or don't. So there was no real option to talk to anybody. So that was a really positive step, being able to actually have a conversation with someone, look at where I would use that. And it was good to have a chat with you about where I might use that coaching, because
Yeah,
that allowed me to think it through.
yeah, I remember that conversation, because I think that's half of it, isn't it? Is what am I going to do with this thing? I'm making an investment in, I think, time as much as money. And where will I be at the end of it, and what will I be able to do with it? And I guess you going through that process, has it stayed the same what you want to do with it? Have you changed your mind?
A bit of both. So yeah, I definitely want to use it for the intended audience, which is I want to use it for free coaching within the NHS services, because there's no free ADHD informed coaching in my area where I am. But as I've gone through, I've recognised that maybe I can do this as a business as well, be alongside my own job. But that's certainly something that I'm beginning to explore.
Yeah, fantastic. And how did you find some people have come to us who have mainly done like online courses where there isn't a cohort, they're not working with somebody, and they might have a qualification in coaching, but it's not been done in a group setting. How have you found that group setting useful for your practice and your confidence, I guess?
I can't imagine coming out of a course, being a coach and feeling like I can coach without having the experience I've had with you and Alex. Um, I don't know how I could have got the skills I have from a book or from just writing assignments and the theory behind it, because whilst the theory's been there, and it's been great to learn that, actually the coaching has been really informative, and the discussions. I think the Thursday drop-ins in between the actual coaching sessions have been really valuable to hone those skills, to ask those questions, to get that feedback has allowed me then to really put that into practice. So that's been really really good to have that as part of the course.
Brilliant, because we think there's a lot of value in that, and that is one of the reasons we've offered it now as an alumni, that you will get that every month. So you've got somewhere to take those questions, but also supervision, all of that type of stuff. How did you find it when you first were practicing your coaching with the rest of the cohort? Was it nerve-wracking? Was it exciting? Like, what was it like?
It was definitely nerve-wracking. I think it was maybe week 2 or 3 of the actual coaching practice before I was I'll be a coach rather than I'll be a coachee. But it was a really good experience to be somewhere safe. The cohort and the environment you created, it was a safe space. And
you
that
need
allowed,
that.
yeah, absolutely. And I think without that, I don't know if I would have been prepared to be as open as I was. And then that being open then allows you to learn more. So that's really positive.
That the first time you've asked people questions throughout your life, but the first time I remember it still like being in a triad or 2 of you there, and you're just about to ask, so what, that an open, curious, non-directive question, and you think, I've asked questions before, like, why is this does it feel so difficult? And what would you say to other people about that? Because that is a step, and some people would rather not make that step. But as you say, I think it does make you a more confident practitioner. You've got to test it out and try it. I know you have practice clients, but yeah, too many questions. What would you say to other people?
I think I'm not alone on the cohort when we initially started, and I certainly didn't realize how difficult it was, because like you said, you ask questions all through your life. You're always asking questions of everybody, but to do it in a kind, non-directive way, yet challenging people to be able to think and process the thoughts. Actually, that's a lot. There's a lot of thinking in there. And when I first started, it was, wow, I'm really rubbish at this. This is not something I'm good at, because it's not a skill that we actually hone without being taught it. So that environment, that safe space allows you to practice. And before you have a practice client, it allows you to practice in that space and get that feedback about you. Yeah, I felt like I was direct, I felt like I wasn't, and that then allowed me and others to be able to build those skills. But yeah, it's not as easy as what people think it is. It is really challenging, especially at the start.
Yeah, and it is a learned skill, and it takes, you go through the course, you have all those practice clients, you have the cohort, and yet still, I don't know, 3,000 clients in, I still have to think about, is that an open question? Am I leading a session a bit too much? Should I be stepping back? Like, where's my pause? And that all takes time, doesn't it? And practice. Yes. Yeah, I think, is it Alex who always says, wherever he got it from, you can't learn to tightrope from a book. And it's the same type of thing, isn't it? How do you learn that without actually experiencing it and doing it? And your clients can give you feedback, your practice clients, but there's something about the cohort that I think you're right. You can take a risk. It feels safer. And you trust that they're learning the same thing, so they know whether it feels leading. But they can tell you, whereas a client might not tell you that, because they'd feel like, oh, I'm not really sure. Because you're also in your own head with it.
Yeah, I think if you're asking your clients for feedback, and I did ask some clients for feedback, but because it's free as well, a lot of them are going to turn around and say, yeah, that was good, or yeah, thank you. And then you speak to someone on the course and you do the same thing. It might be, well, actually, you could have done that differently. So it's that learning at the same time, because you're educating each other. You do get that more honest
Yeah.
feedback that allows you to change and grow as a coach.
And do you think, how did it feel, that feedback, like the setup of that? You've talked about a safe space. Did you feel safe in that environment to be able to practice?
Yeah, definitely. It was a really safe, welcoming, inviting space. The ground rules that were set for the course allowed that to then grow. I'd like to think that some of the people who were on the course I can now call as friends.
Yeah.
We're still in contact now and still doing things together to grow and carry on. And it was the work from you and Alex at the start that allowed that environment to really flourish.
That's lovely to hear that, because that first session we do quite a lot of work, don't we, on establishing and then keep going to that,
Yeah.
to make sure people feel, that we're here to try it out and we're here to practice and all of that. That is going to be part of it. We wouldn't run a course where that didn't happen, but that we will do our best to have rules of engagement, like how we're going to do that, and also how we're going to feed back to one another and when we're going to, and if we've got permission and that type of stuff. All good stuff for coaching anyway. Okay, so you said you're still in contact with other people in the cohort. So what are you doing with them? Like, what are you doing to remain connected?
One of the cohort has a charity for neurodivergent people, for autistic people, and we're looking at whether or not we can offer coaching through that charity. So that's something really exciting. And then I'm just in contact with some of the others who we're still doing coaching between ourselves. So I'm still being coached by somebody. And it's just that practice that we're allowing each other just to continue to grow.
Yeah, lovely. And I think you're talking about business as well and how to establish yourselves as coaches.
Yeah, so that's I've just come from a body doubling session with some of the other coaches where we were just having a chat and sort of going through designing websites and doing business plans. And so I think most of us are in that stage of, we finish this course, what now? And beginning to explore how to do that in the best ways. And that cohort, it's sharing experiences and support for each other, because that's the environment that's been built. It's just some amazing people who I trained with.
Yeah, it was an amazing cohort, we have to say that. I'm sure the next one will be. But there's something about the first one, because you've also been through our experimental phase of not so much the content. I think we knew what that was, but how we went about doing it. Okay, hiccups, like what would you tell us now, like about any of it that you think that we should learn from? Like, I'd be interested to know.
I don't think I'd change anything. It's hard to say without experiencing something different.
Yeah,
But there was nothing.
Maybe it's a daft question.
There was nothing there where it felt it should be different, that it felt awkward, or I didn't feel like I was learning. I think yeah, there was nothing there at the time when we were going through the sessions. There were moments where you asked us to start looking for practice clients and start practicing coaching, and at the time it felt like, well, how on earth can I do that? I've not learned enough.
Yeah.
But go through the course, that then makes sense as to why you asked us to do it then. But at that moment it felt, I'm not sure.
Yeah, a bit early.
It did all make sense.
Yeah, because you've got to start. There's something about doing it, isn't there? And until you start really doing it, and with a practice client outside of that environment, until you're walking in those shoes, you can't really. It's amazing, once you all started, the questions you came back with are like, this is the journey that we're on.
Yeah.
And then it makes sense. But until you have done that, your questions were very different. We noticed the difference in the way you talked about things. As soon as you got people, then you can go, oh, I thought that bit was easy, but then that happened. And then there are any personal bits where you either you think you've grown, or there's something that you weren't expecting, or like a personal sort of triumph for you, or a learning, like anything in there that is particularly stands out for you?
I wasn't expecting that a coaching course would cause me to have so much reflection and self-reflection. I was not expecting that. And I think part of the course has allowed me to reflect on how I want to show up for people, what my coaching, if you call it a brand, me as a coach, who I want to be as a coach for the people.
Yeah.
I didn't expect to get that kind of outcome. I expected to learn how to be a coach, not to learn about who I am and who I want to be as a coach.
Yeah, and it's funny, that word brand, isn't it? I always go with identity, because at least I know that that's about me. A brand always feels a bit out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. And what would you, got to ask you the question, what would you say to other people who are thinking about signing up, or they're curious about coaching? What would you say to them?
Amazing course. Do it. It'll be the best 12 weeks that you spend with a group of other people, learning not only about coaching, but about yourself. And you'll have a whole load of laughs along the way. Yeah, it was great. And I would definitely recommend it to anyone who is interested in coaching, whether or not you want to develop to become a professional coach and get that qualification, or whether or not you're just on the very start of your journey. It's something that I would definitely recommend.
Well, that's good, because if you'd said I think it's rubbish after all that, it would have been a bit embarrassing, wouldn't it? Yeah, and we're really happy to talk to anybody who wants to talk to us about it. As you said at the beginning, that was really useful for you. I remember when we first decided to do that, some people said to me, "Oh, I wouldn't want to talk to anybody before I did a course. It's too personal." And then others actually who've had that conversation said it was really valuable, and it was the sort of clincher that sort of moved them past shall I, shan't I. So we offer it. We also offer that people can talk to our cohort. I'm sure you'd be happy to talk to somebody if they wanted to know it without me here, so that they could have a, what are they really like conversation with you. I think we're like you would expect us to be, but it'd be easier for them. And then they can follow links that will be in whatever we put out about this, so that people can find out about it. Shell, it's brilliant that you've had such a great time, actually, and learned so much about you. I've really enjoyed all of the stuff that you've brought. It's because you've come from the NHS, it's a different area, and hearing how you plan to use it, I wish you all the luck in the world, because I know that is an organisation that needs an enormous amount of support. And I love what you brought because of that, because you came from a different angle. And that one of the things I've loved about the cohort is where everybody comes from, really different backgrounds. And so you get that real lovely, richer environment than if everybody come from the same place.
Yeah.
So diversity in practice, I guess. Okay, lovely. Thank you for that.